under the sun.
Yeah, that always looked super cool.
You just gotta have people to play with.
Right. That's the
It's
hard part.
yeah.
Uh,
That's why I basically I coerced a lot of people. I'm like, hey, I'm getting Tabletop Simulator. You should get it too. Then we
yeah,
can
come
play
on
all
over.
kinds of games.
It's just $5, man. No big deal.
Right. And then like they had like a 4-pack you could buy that you could just kind of like buy out for your friends or whatever. That
Oh,
was also
nice.
on sale. So
That's nice. All right. You ready to start?
yep, yep.
All right, starting in three, two, one. Welcome back to another episode of Picking Up the Pixels RPG Love. I'm your host, Boston, and joining me as always is Mina.
Hi.
Musim is taking a month off. Everybody's busy. Everybody's got stuff going on. I know he has some personal stuff going on that we're keeping him and his family in our thoughts about. But he's taking a knee for this month. But that's okay because we probably have, well, we have some RPG stuff to talk about here. It's been, December's always a really hard month because it is, it just gets so busy. Usually it's not the RPG release month. But with all that in mind, why don't we start with you, Mina? What have you been playing this past month?
So number one thing that I've been playing a extreme amount of is Genshin Impact.
Oh yeah.
This game takes up so many hours of the day for me. Like,
Are you
I
playing it
think
on
at
PC?
minimum. Yeah, I play it on
Okay.
PC. Yeah. I'm amazed at the people who can play this game on their phone. I don't know
Yeah.
how those people do it.
Yeah.
I
It.
understand
Oh
like
god.
I understand like on console at least a little bit, but
Yeah.
phone sounds wild to me.
Yeah, I tried it on phone because I was like, this was before I got my PS5. I was like, I wonder if it runs well over there, and it runs really nicely on my phone. But I never have a controller connected to it, so it's sort of like, I mean, this functions, but like I wouldn't want to do boss battles on it. You know, you might be able to
Right.
get your dailies done if there aren't any of the time trial ones, but otherwise it
Sure.
feels a little bit like, you know.
Yeah, and I've unlocked world level 6 or whatever.
Oh wow, okay.
Um and I'll say this, like the difficulty of the game, whenever you hit the next world level, boy does it scales up pretty
Yeah.
big.
Yeah,
Um
it's a pretty big leap.
yep. And world level 6 is probably like the biggest by far, where I thought world level 5 was like somewhat challenging, but I could do like a lot of it kind of solo. World level 6, it almost feels like if you're not working with like high tiered plus 20 artifacts,
Oh,
it's
okay.
like it's really challenging. I end up asking my friends to help me come in a lot, the ones that are also at world level 6. And a
Right.
lot of times they're the ones carrying me through the content to like help me get better gear.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I mean the difference is like I'm doing like maybe like 2 to 3k damage per swing on my weapon, and then my friend walks in and is doing like 10k
Oh,
per swing.
jeez.
Yeah, so like I desperately need their help right now to like do like my at level content.
Right.
Uh, it's not like I can't do it at all, but it requires so much time. And like if there's time trials or whatever, it's just not doable for me.
Right.
I know it's boiling down to, well, you just don't have enough gear, or like I'm not doing my builds correctly or whatever, but also the material requirements for a lot of things to like I can't even get something max upgraded to the maximum that I have at the moment. Like it just
Right.
requires too much.
Yeah, and
So,
I wish the game had a little bit, like, I don't know how they would do this because the game doesn't really have like a concept of item level or gear score or anything like that. But I sort of wish that the game could kind of take a look at your loadout and say like, well, I mean, you can go to the next world tier, but maybe you're not ready quite yet. Like maybe just do a little bit of boosting.
yeah. I think it, well, see, like, so for like the solo, or not the solo, but for like the dungeons or whatever, you can tune them down a bit, but
Oh, okay.
the overworld, there's no tuning down the overworld. So
Right.
like all of my dailies and like anytime I have like stuff to do on the overworld. It's so much harder than it was on world level 5.
Right.
Um, I end up more oftentimes than not just just go around like, hey guys, is anybody around? Does anybody want to help
Anyone want
me?
to hang out in the world a
Just
little bit?
just help me do some of my
Right.
stuff, please.
Right. Just 10 minutes, I promise.
So I've been having to kind of like just like keep an eye out for anybody who's available to help me,
Right.
and yeah, that's how Genshin's been going for me. I did pull on the new unit Zhongli or whatever, the
Oh, right.
Geo guy. I did get him.
Nice.
Uh, I do. So I like you can use him in his little story thing, which I won't spoil. But when I used him in his little story thing, God, he was so good, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I feel like I really, really want this guy. I don't have the ability to build him is like the thing. Like I shouldn't be doing that because it's kind of like you're not really helping yourself out by
Right.
adding just another character to your roster who
Right.
you can't build.
Right.
But I was like, oh, this guy's so cool. And um yeah, it like so if you get a chance to use him, one his I don't know what to call it, the ability names. I know one of them's like a skill and the other one's a burst, I think is the
I
difference.
think so, yeah.
So the elemental skill, he drops like a pillar that kind of like pulses like geo energy,
Ooh.
and so it does target enemies, but what's really cool is like it will spit out those little geo shield things or whatever whenever it hits an enemy.
Uh-huh.
It seems, or it's something along the lines of like it's spitting out geo and energy shields. I don't know if you have to do something as well, like maybe hitting an enemy inside that. Well, whatever it is, it spits out shields. It is great. I
Right.
love that.
That's a good synergy, man.
Right? And I really want a dupe of him pretty badly because his first level dupe will let it happen so that way you can drop a second pillar down. So you can have two
Oh, wow.
pillars at the same time. And that seems so good. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I really want a dupe of this guy like so
Yeah.
badly.
That sounds
Um
real strong.
so if I could like make one suggestion to this team, and like this is something that Epic 7 does, like once every 3 or 4 months in Epic 7, you can I'm sorry if you guys can hear my cat screaming.
No,
He's
I don't think I
okay.
can hear it.
He's just wandering right next to me, screaming at the
That's
top of
just
his lungs.
the plight of the cat where it's I'm
Right?
being ignored. Oh.
Right? He does this when I talk, like when I'm
Right.
streaming or whatever. He just runs up. He's like, "You're talking, but you're
She's
not
talking to
looking at
me.
me." Right? So he's being noisy. But so like the thing is with Zhongli, just like the dupes and everything that I really want just one dupe. I don't want more than like. Well,
Right.
it would be nice to have more than one, but like that one dupe would mean the world to me right now. Um, with Epic 7, every 3 to 4 months, there's a way to obtain basically this this shard that you can dupe any unit in the game that you want. So like
Right. It's like a
let's
global upgrade
yeah,
material.
it's a global dupe basically,
Yeah.
and it's for any unit in the game, including limited units, which is what I usually use those dupes for.
Oh,
Um,
right.
because it's like, do you like as a free to play player, do you have a chance of getting like maximum dupes for a limited unit?
Right. You're lucky if you
Probably
got
not,
one of them.
right? So I
Yeah.
usually like take this like little mirror dupe that you get like once every 3 to 4 months. It's a very long time, I understand, and it's
Right.
frustratingly long, but it's like, well, it's a free one. You can get it pretty easily. So
Right.
I like that. And I think, oh gosh, I wish Genshin had something like that. Just I don't care if it takes me 3 to 4 months to get this one dupe. It would
Yeah.
mean everything to
It'd be
me.
huge. Yeah, I feel like Final Fantasy Brave Exvius did something like that too, so I wonder if that's becoming a standard where it's like you're saying, like once a quarter you have your like your spring event and you have your fall
Yeah,
event, and you could start working towards one of those things.
right.
That'd be really nice.
And I feel like Genshin especially would benefit from that sort of thing, considering that unlike a lot of these other games where units get added to the pool, these 5 stars never get added to the pool. They're just they're gone
Oh,
forever
right.
until we see them again. So
Right.
like all of these units are technically limited if you think about it. So once Zhongli's banner ends, until he comes back again, you're not going to pull him anymore.
Right. And they
So
haven't really so far said like, "Oh, he'll be back this time
right,
next year." It's like, "No,
right.
man, like keep
We
trying."
don't know. We
Yeah.
don't know. So I would really like another copy of a Zhongli because I think that double pillar thing sounds so nice.
It does, yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I still really like Genshin. It's a lot of fun. I like in terms of like a lot of gacha games, I feel like when you play with a lot of gacha characters, you're very limited in how you use them. Whereas it feels like with Genshin, you have that kind of like skill level of actually moving a character around, utilizing their skills, doing
Yeah.
synergies like pretty quickly and that sort of thing. So I love Genshin for that. I just a couple tiny modifications, please.
Yeah,
I
like
would.
keep evolving the game. You know, I feel like they're doing such a good job of they have such a good foundation, and it's like you just got to keep building on that in these kind of player friendly ways.
Mhm. And I would like the game to stick around for a very long time. So,
Yeah,
uh,
it's very good. It's very good. I still really like I know a lot of people um don't like gotcha games out of hand, and
yeah.
I can sort of understand because they seem very addictive. They seem very
Mhm.
uh, like scummy from the outside. But Genshin Impact is so good. I really recommend it because it's not like hit auto battle and just let your team go through 15 waves. It's like no, you
Yeah.
got to get in there. And you got to Breath of the Wild it up. Like you gotta play this one.
And, yep. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And like I said, I actually I think the gotcha system itself is very fine
Yep.
considering that you don't have resets on your polls. I'm trying so
Our
hard
third
to
cast member this week.
so anyways, like just the fact that like you if like Zhongli's banner ends and I've been polling this entire time and I don't get another Zhongli, all those polls technically aren't wasted. They just kind of
Right.
roll over to the next banner.
Right.
Um which is kind of how I got Zhongli in the first place because I was polling really hard on the Tartalgia. I don't know this
A,
guy's
a lot of the names in this game, I look at them, I'm sort of like, okay,
right.
I'm not gonna try.
Such a hard name for me, considering that like in the game he went by the name Child, and then like his like other name is Tartalgia or something.
Right.
And I'm like,
Right.
it's such. I pulled so hard on his banner to get him, and it ended up like on the Zhongli banner. I feel like the first 3 or 4 pulls I got Zhongli, so
Oh, nice.
um that was really nice. Outside of Genshin Impact, I've only played a couple of games just to chill with. Nothing too outstanding. Like I played a little bit of Persona 5 Royal. I played a little bit of my Rune Factory 4, always just like a good chill game for
Oh,
me.
yeah.
Um so just a lot of comfort games for me.
Right. And like
um
making progress and stuff, but
oh yeah,
it's
making
not,
progress, but
or
it
spoilery stuff.
it's really not something I have to talk too much about. Like Rune Factory 4, I will sing its praises till the end of time. I think it's one of the best examples of like a game that in pursuit of trying to do everything, it just did it all well enough that it was enjoyable and I can
Right.
recommend it to pretty much anyone
Right.
um, to have a good time with. Um, but yeah, other than those games, like everything else that I've played, not RPGs, just cooperative with friends to have fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, other than that, what did you play, Boston?
I have been playing a lot of Destiny 2. The new expansion and new season are out now. The new expansion is Beyond Light, and the new season is Season of the Hunt. Um, don't want to talk too much about the season because it's a little bit content thin. Not in a bad way, because the Beyond Light expansion is very content rich. So it's sort of like, all right, that's fine because I don't I don't want to spend my entire day every day doing all this stuff. And there's some story stuff in the new season that's kind of a big spoiler. Um, they're they're continuing some of the storylines that started in Forsaken, which is the two expansions ago. So they're starting to wrap up more of the stuff, which is really great. Um, but Beyond Light brings a new location, Europa, which is the first like really frozen location. Um, but what's really interesting about it is it's really, really massive. But there's also this entire scientific facility underneath the surface, and the thing that I did not dislike, maybe I'm a little more frustrated about with Destiny is like it's like your favorite band where it's like, oh, they're really great, and like, but the last five albums they've put out have all been good, but they've all kind of sounded the same. You're like waiting for them to do the next, like, what's the new thing you're gonna do? um my frustration with Destiny is since the launch of the first one, pretty much everywhere you go is like rusted out and picked over and kind of in shambles and run down. We don't really get to see any places, understandably, we don't get to see a lot of places that are new or well preserved. And one of the things I like about Beyond Light is all that stuff underneath that scientific facility is all brand new preserved stuff. So it's all super clean, like super bright white areas and kind of stark yellows and reds and greens and stuff like that. So it's a very, very cool area that is markedly different from a lot of what we've seen before. Um, and the big thing for this now is the new stasis subclass, which is pretty much like an ice subclass. So you're kind of freezing enemies, you're throwing ice and shattering enemies, and like building like ice walls and throwing ice grenades and stuff like that. And all that stuff is really, really cool. Um, has a great sound design. Like all of it cracks and crackles and shatters, and it sounds really great. Um, the unfortunate part is it's still kind of Destiny, so you know the core of it hasn't, for better or for worse, hasn't really changed. Um, I think if you haven't played Destiny before, they've done a really great, or maybe you've sort of been waiting for it. Um, they've There's been a problem with Destiny for a while once it went free to play, where they would have like a starting mission and it would just kind of dump you in the tower and be like, all right, good luck. Uh, Now they've done a whole brand new player experience. And if you've played Destiny 2 before, you can just go to the tower and pick it up. So you don't have to like delete your characters or anything. Um, and it's like a 4 or 5 mission thing on the Cosmodrome that's returning from the first game. Um, and it teaches you how to like do bounties and do public events and equip gear and run strikes. So it teaches you in a really great way like all of the literal basics of Destiny that before you would have to have a friend who's currently playing it and be like, oh, okay, here's what this icon means, here's how you get equipment in this slot, like here's how you do all this stuff. Like you can you'll probably need that stuff for the end game, but you know, for the pure basics of the game, it does a really, really great job now of getting you into the game and even showing you around the tower. We're like, here's all the vendors, here's what everyone does, and then once you're done with that, it's like, all right, now you're ready to kind of take all this knowledge and go play Destiny 2. So it's much nicer to see that instead of like, oh, you want to play Destiny 2? Well, I'll be on Thursday at 5 p.m. We got about 2 hours. Like we'll cram stuff in.
Right.
Um, so the only other thing, the last thing I want to talk a short little bit about is the new raid Deepstone Crypt. Over the last month and a half, 2 months, I've gathered a raid group. We sort of stumbled into an all dad raid group on the Discord server. So we were running a whole bunch of the old stuff before they disappeared and they got vaulted. And we're lucky enough to have a raid group that is able to run the new raid as soon as it comes out. So For the last 2 weeks, we've been running it, and last night we did our second run. We got about halfway through, about three-quarters of the way through, um, because it's Friday night. We're all tired. We usually give it like 2.5 hours to kind of get through it, and after that, we're all kind of yawning and feeling a little punchy. So that's been a lot of fun. It's a really great raid. So far, I think it's one of the better ones that they've put out. It feels it's hard. It has to be hard designing a raid because you want it to be mechanically interesting, but you don't want it to be too complicated, because then
Mm,
people aren't going to want to learn it and people aren't going to want to run it, because it's like, oh well, this one encounter just takes 10 minutes of pure juggling and stress and shooting space aliens to kind of get through. Like it's so
right.
much. But so far the second encounter in there is the hardest one, um, and even that one isn't too long. I think it's like 5 minutes at most. So far it's been good. We're sort of learning it, and we're doing it. So Destiny 2 Beyond Light, 2 thumbs up. Still good. And seems like there's a pretty good amount of content there. Um, I was lucky enough to get a. I only have one quasi RPG here to talk about. Other than that, mostly to complain about it. But
Oh no.
uh, yeah, well, yeah. I was lucky enough to get both a PS5 and a Series X.
Oh,
I was
nice.
like right on the button on Amazon as soon as that listed. I was like, click, 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 click. All right, I got my pre-order in. So I got both of them day and date, and a lot of a lot of what I've been spending my time with is firing up older games and be like, oh, look at how fast they load. Oh, that's so cool. Like, oh, 4K 60 frames. Oh, this is so cool. And like not really playing a whole lot. Um, the only thing I've been playing a lot of is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which I was really excited to talk about on this show because over the last couple of games, they've been leaning more and more into RPG mechanics. And
Mm,
like your armor has rarity on it, including stats, and you're like slotting gems into your weapons and your armor to give them special attributes. And um, it seemed like they were really like each area has a level requirement, like an item level requirement, and it really does mean that. Like if you're level 90 and it says, hey, you have to be 130 in here, like everything in there is going to one shot you. The problem though is it doesn't the game even gives you experience, because how the leveling system works is when you get enough experience to gain a level, it gives you 2 skill points for this like massive, not as big as uh I don't remember what that Diablo like game, Path of Exile, not as big as Path of Exile,
mm.
um but like a really 3 different massive skill trees, and every time you put a point towards a skill, it gives you a level. So you put 4 points in there, you're level 4. It's a little weird. The problem is doing stuff out in the world gives you a little bit of experience, but it never feels like you get enough at the point where you could just like go out and do a whole bunch of side quests and get a level. You might after like 20 of them, or you can just do one story mission, which will give you a level. So it's like, sure, you have experience and you kind of have a level, but it doesn't really mean a ton because you can't like go out there and grind and level up or anything. So that's kind of a bummer because it has all the has like the superficial trappings of an RPG, but never kind of connects them
Right.
all together to make it like a proper RPG, which is a bummer because I thought they were kind of taking steps towards it in every game, and they just haven't really gotten there yet, which is fine. I mean, I love the Assassin's Creed games, but Assassin's Creed stealthy stuff plus an RPG, like plus skill trees and stuff, like especially with item rarities like that, all that stuff together is really my jam. But not quite there yet. Um, but I'm in the same boat you are, where it's a lot of like I'm playing a lot of Fortnite, which is most definitely not an RPG.
Right.
Um, and Mina and I were talking about this before the show, but it's the end of the year stuff for TVGP because we're going to go on our holiday break here pretty soon. So it's a lot of like, we'll have to get all this stuff together for all these shows, which means I don't have a ton of time to play stuff, which is a bummer, but I'll have 2 weeks off. So I'll make time up during that. All right, let's go to our next section here, the RPG releases for December 2020. First up, out now, came out on the 4th. Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light came out on Switch. Couple of notes here. Number one, this is the first Fire Emblem game. So it's like the 8-bit like Famicom one that's never come out over here. So it sort of, if you're interested in it, kind of keep in mind this isn't really like the Three Houses Fire Emblem. This is more of like the
This is the old school.
yeah, like this is the tough ones. Like these are games that are pretty challenging. Also, it's not available after March 31st.
What?
And Nintendo has been doing this for a whole bunch of stuff they just announced, where it's like only available physically and digitally until March 31st, 2021. It's like, okay. I don't know why, but
why?
sure, why not?
That's wild.
Very weird. I think it's only like $5 or $7. So,
I mean,
it's not gonna break the bank, but it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it took all the time to port this and translate it for the first time, and gonna sell it for 3 months. Okay, that's weird. All right. But yes, that's out now on the Switch. Cyberpunk 2077 comes out PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Stadia on the 10th. I know the PS5 and Series X patches will come out sometime in the new year, but I know they'll be available backwards compatibility. I know Musum is really excited about this. Are you going to pick it up, you think, Mina?
I'll be honest, I am very interested in the game. I just want it to go on. I'll probably wait for it on a sale because I've got a backlog that's so huge.
Yeah. It's like, all right, let's put one more 120-hour CD
Right.
Projekt Red game on there. All right.
I'm still trying to beat Xenoblade, okay?
Right.
I've already got a 100+ hour game.
That's right. Yeah. And last but not least, the one I'm super excited about, Collection of Saga Final Fantasy Legend, comes out on the Switch on the 15th. This is the collection of Final Fantasy Legend 1, 2, and 3 for the Game Boy, which is not technically, they are Saga 1, 2, and 3, since they got renamed over here. Little tip here for anyone that's interested in this. Follow a walkthrough for the first game. It's very hard. It is so difficult. I think it's a cool, unique thing. 2 and 3 are much more straightforward. 2 is still fairly hard, but 3 is pretty easy. But I have a real soft spot for all 3 of these. I played these on the Game Boy when they came out when I was a kid, and I fell in love with them. I'm very excited for them to come out, and I don't believe that they have an expiration date, which is a bonus.
That's awesome.
So 2 thumbs up. We got 2 quick news stories here to cover before we say goodbye to probably Puff's shortest episode, but that's okay. I'm fighting off a cold. I want to go lay down.
Same.
First news story: Persona 5 Strikers finally has a North American release date. This comes thanks to someone posting the trailer for it in English on Atlas's YouTube channel too early, and then making it private like a couple minutes later.
It's too late. The fans saw it.
Yeah, like a whole bunch of people saved it, and it, the usual. So it will be coming out February 23rd, 2021 on the previous platforms, which is PS4 and Switch, and
Mhm.
brand new platform, PC. It's going to be coming out on Steam, which is number one, surprising. Number
I
two,
I
really great.
I am going to be supporting it on PC
Yeah,
because I strongly, strongly want them to continue supporting putting things on the PC.
yeah.
Um,
And it'll look the best. I mean, it'll run
yeah,
the
but
best. Like it'll be Persona 4's ports seem to be really great. So
mhm.
uh, yeah, that's really exciting. And the trailer, which I think is still not listed, did feature an English voiceover track. So I think that makes a lot of sense as to why um, there's sort of a delay between the PC version and between the English voiceover on, and the coronavirus has been affecting
Yep.
development pretty incredible amount. So um, I'm sure that all kind of I think we were all sort of starting to bite our nails where it's like, oh no, are they not gonna bring it out over here like that? Oh, that'd be real bad. So thankfully it would appear that it's still coming out. Atlas hasn't been like, oh no, LOL, we made that as like an April Fool's joke. It's not coming out.
No.
So fingers crossed. The only other news story we have here is there's a couple of Bioware departures. Mark Dara is leaving, along with the leaving for the second time, I think, Casey Hudson, um, which both of those are pretty high publicity people within Bioware. That what was Casey Hudson working on here? Um, Hudson was the general manager, and Dara he's leading up Dragon Age 4. Um, so it seems like someone else has sort of stepped into the Dragon Age 4 role, which is not exactly an enviable position after what happened this week with a certain Dragon Age voice actor, um,
Yep.
which is just real bad. Um, but it's sort of interesting because Dragon Age doesn't seem like it's been in trouble. It just seems like maybe they're having a hard time figuring out what the next step of the franchise is. Um, uh, Especially after Inquisition was received so well and Mass Effect Andromeda was received so poorly. And Anthem is in a reboot phase, I guess is probably the best way to put it. Um, and the Mass Effect Legendary Edition is really the only other thing that they have going on that's big. This article says they're still supporting Star Wars: The Old Republic, which I totally forgot about. So that's probably doing well for them. But I wonder if this was a good time for them to step out, where it's like, yeah, Bioware's kind of in the middle of a whole bunch of stuff, and maybe some stuff is floundering and having trouble. So, um, who said Hudson said wants to quote start by rediscovering his creative passion through more personal work end quote after he
Yeah.
leaves. So, wonder if he came back to Bioware and was like, yeah, man, this is still a big company. This still sort of sucks. All right, see you guys later. um, so yeah, kind of a bummer that their two big peeps are leaving here, but hopefully, the thing that I really care about is hopefully they take their time on the next Dragon Age, and it launches in a really solid state. I don't think it needs to be like game of the year, but I just want another, you know, fairly large, fun to play, not 500-hour Dragon Age game, and I'd be pretty happy. So, but that's all of our news stories for this month, and that's our episode. Get you in and out here real quick with a bunch of. Next year will probably be better for RPGs.
It'll
It's
be
been
a lot better for me for sure.
Yeah, probably for me too. But Mina, where can we find you online?
You can find me on twitch.tv at Mina KO Rocket or YouTube under the same name in Boston.
You can find me at e1m1.com for all my shows, patreon.com/, E1, M1, the ones are numbers for all the behind the scenes, early access audio. The $5 a month tier is the recommended one, and it's not per episode, not per post or whatever. It's just $5 a month, so it's super affordable. And we record and release so much audio every week. So I think most weeks usually get at least 3 episodes, if not 4, that you're getting over there. This shows forgot to mention this show's page, pickingupthepixels.com. Everywhere to find and follow us is on the right hand side of the page. And that's all for this month. We'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.
And thanks so much, everyone, for hanging out with us, watching us live, watching the archive video. And we'll see you next month. Bye.